Welcome back to the DJ Sessions, where we feature the best DJs and producers from around the world. I'm your host, Darren, and right now I'm sitting in the virtual studios in Seattle, Washington, and all the way on the other half of the world, 8-9 hours ahead of us, coming in from Barnet, North London. I hope I got that city name correct. We got Ricky Simmonds and Steve Jones from the Space Brothers. How's it doing? How's it going this evening for you guys?
Hello from the future. It's great here in the evening time. Yeah, good to see you. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys started, almost about 25 years ago, right when I was just getting into electronic music. I mean, I was looking at stuff, but the early days, 95, I believe, somewhere around there, 95, 97-ish. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, we're best known as the Space Brothers, but we had a couple of other projects. Well, definitely a few projects since, but a couple of other projects before. So you're right, about 95, that's when we had the Ultra High project, which was a track called Stay With Me, and then a follow-up with Are You Ready For Love? So that was a couple of years before we started as the Space Brothers, which in a month's time, to May the 20th, I think, 25 years ago is when we first released our first Space Brothers single. So 25, 27 years, call it, been flogging this one.
And now you actually have a 25th anniversary tour that you have going out there. It must be exciting getting back out there, first of all. I don't know if you got to do a lot of physical events over the last 6 months, or are you ready for it? Or are you
we did about half a dozen to a dozen gigs last year as well.
Okay.
At the back end of the year. So
it was a bit stop-start, wasn't it? It was when, I guess, you had a similar thing when we had about 2 or 3 different lockdowns at varying times of the year. So when we could get out there, we were able to do some gigs. But yeah, we're looking forward to doing quite a few over the next few months now.
And if you could host an event of your own without any limitations, what top 5 things would you want at that event?
Good food.
I like you already. You're right after my heart, right there.
Yeah.
Good food.
Good food. Good sunshine.
Swimming pool.
Swimming pool. Better DJs than us. And what's the 5th one? £1 million fee.
£1 million.
How about that?
Now, would you take that in the form of Bitcoin?
Yeah, Ethereum.
Makes sense.
If that's the offer from you, we'll take it. Yeah, go on.
Awesome. I recently was looking over some of your socials and going back a little bit in time, and it's so funny because this hit home with me. Quote, digging through our archive of ancient DATs and found this little bit of history. Tons of remasters coming in 2022. More details soon. It just, when I saw that, reminded me of all my days back when I was doing public access broadcast television TV. This is before podcasting. You could even put video online. And I have all my mini DV tapes. And I literally have them by the front door of my house, like by a kind of a bookshelf of memories, hundreds of them that I have. What was it like going through and finding that DAT? And then you're now going to, I assume, come back and breathe life back into these again. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, the one of the harder things to come to terms with was when we got the tapes out, and there's hundreds of them, and we were going through them. We thought we'd found everything we wanted to find, and then we realised we hadn't actually put the tapes in the right covers. So everything we thought we'd found was a complete waste of time. We had to start again. So what looked like it was going to be a couple of days' work was about a week or so's work going through things. Just our filing system was the biggest surprise and the worst letdown at the same time. So, yeah.
But yeah, we found, all the really relevant stuff that we want to put out as remasters. We've got a deal with Armada Records, where they kind of look after pretty much most of our catalogue. So we're doing a kind of campaign of not just remasters of, all these kind of gems that we've dug out, but some really good remixes. We're going to have like remixing some of the you know, some of the highlights of what we've done over the last 25 years. Not just the Space Brothers project as well, but also we got other projects called Chakra, Lustral, Ascension, etc. So it kind of covers pretty much everything we've been up to.
Also, going back to the pre-master DATs, we were able to listen through to like 3 or 4 different versions of each tune we had done at the time. And we obviously picked one that was the relevant mix that we mastered. Going back to the pre-masters, we were able to look at different versions we didn't think were relevant at the time. So we compiled those, we re-edited them. So that some of the tracks, although they're just remasters, they're actually versions that haven't been heard before, which is actually quite interesting. And just finding everything was like some of the masters were on the end of other tapes of masters. Because remember what it's like having tape, it's got a value to it, right? So, you know, if you're a bit short that week, you actually just master another record on the back of another DAT, but we didn't mark anything. So you have to listen to every DAT. And when you do find some real gems of history that you never thought you'd hear again. So yeah.
Also, you find some real pieces of shit as well.
Yeah, some real shockers. Yeah. But the big thing you're talking about, that little piece of history, that was weird because the track that was, which is I Am, the Chakra record, which is the first trance record we made. The weird thing is, we're just looking at the date on it, which was 95. And like in our minds, it's always been, around 97 we started doing this, but that was mastered in 95. So we actually wrote that at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
So yeah. Ages ago.
Steve had stuff out in 94, was it? With the project that he had called High Lux.
92 we started, which is, blimey, that is a long time ago now.
Jesus Christ.
I just remember I was going to ask whose wonderful penmanship is on that tape.
Neither of ours. It would be the tape. That would be the tape op at the studio. We mastered it at a studio called Milo, and it was way too late in the evening, and that will be the tape op that sits at the back, sort of making cups of tea and stuff. Who wrote that out? Because that's definitely not our handwriting.
Yeah,
so I've got some with our handwriting on. His is marginally better than mine, but mine is almost illegible, which still works. I just put a fingerprint on it and stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, just when you had those tapes and you had such limited space to write what was going on, and I would produce episodes and you get 60 minutes of film time on it, but you'd be filming different segments. So this tape had this segment, this tape, and then you didn't have that tape with you. You had to put another episode, another tape. So you had all these like 6 different tapes for one 30-minute show. I could only imagine what that's like going through your stuff. And I don't know what intern I'm going to put on that job to go through and log all my tapes and digitize all of them, but it's going to be somebody's project someday. Well, that's awesome. Just pulling that out. And like you said, it must have been like reliving history again and what you have forgotten, what you created, and it's there. And now you're like, wow, and you're getting ready to release that. That must just be awesome. If there is something you could say to new and up and coming producers to watch out for when making their career successful, what would that be?
Well, I think it is a little bit of a stock, boring answer, but I think it's true. A lot of people say this, but I think it's the truest thing, is probably don't try and emulate anyone else. Just kind of, you know, do what pleases you, what feels good to yourself. Because, you know, the more we all go on in dance music, the more people are involved. You know, I was actually watching the news, not specifically about dance music, but Ed Sheeran was on the news today talking about this lawsuit that he'd had. And he was given this interesting stat that it's 60,000 tracks are uploaded to Spotify every day. So if you think about the number of, you know, in any genre of music, but particularly in dance music, the number of people making dance music, you've got to do something that's a little bit more unique, as unique as possible. So my advice would be just don't follow a trend, because also if you do follow a trend, it'll be gone by the time you get around to releasing whatever you're doing. So bit of a boring one, but, you know, just be true to yourself, and whatever kind of sparks your imagination, stick with that. Anything?
Yeah, that's the same. Yeah.
And if you could change one thing that bothers you about the electronic music or the term EDM scene, what would that be, and how would you go around it?
Cameras, phones.
Camera phones.
That's about it for me. You know, you get kind of sucked into the moment and it's fun, but it does kind of take you out of the, you know, when everyone's got their phones out and stuff, it kind of takes you out of the moment. Although it's nice to, I know why people do it, because it's great to document it. And I remember when we used to go to space in Ibiza, the one thing you were not allowed to take in with you under any circumstance was a camera. So because
this was pre-smartphone.
Pre-smartphone. So, you know, the one thing we were both dying to get in there was a camera, right? Because you want to take a shot of what's going on because it's amazing. But now I think it's just a bit over the top. It's just people forget to live the moment. So for me, it's just
I think that's a good call. Actually, it was a lot more pure.
Yeah,
before
I mean, I totally get it, because everything looks so amazing now. You know, compared to dark clubs of 20 years ago, that it's kind of designed to be photographed. But yeah, just a little bit less of that would be good.
The only other thing, wouldn't want to change it because it's just the way it is. But what was great about before the, you know, like the digital and certainly the streaming era, it was great when you used to have a track, not even necessarily your own, but you get hold of a track, it'd be maybe someone's got an acetate of it, and you kind of know about that a month or two before it suddenly went mainstream. And having that kind of almost like, you know, a secret about you know about this record that's going to do something, that's gone now. Because you don't have that. No one has that for like several months on end anymore. So that's kind of the only, I think, the negative or the disappointing side of, you know, the instant side of things that we've got now.
Well, you know, going to the cell phone camera thing in the clubs, there was an artist. There was an interview not too long ago about an artist that said, you know, same thing. Cell phones in the clubs are just kind of destroying the environment because you don't have people watching the show anymore. You have them like filming through the phone like this, and then they're capturing it. But the other drawback of that was that they were talking about was that now you got cameras. Normally you have a photographer that's shooting all your pro images. And if you did something like this or something like this, or you sneeze and there's now 10,000 phones capturing you sneezing, then that image gets uploaded to social media, hashtagged, and it's out there, and you almost have no control or creative control how you can be represented online. And then you become a popular meme somehow, which could be good, I guess. You know, but it's those candid shots. And there were some events, we've done some here. There were promoters here in Seattle that did them. They called them, I think they called them Sonar. Oh, I can't remember the name of it, but basically you weren't allowed to go in with your cell phone. You had to put it in a bag at the door when you went in.
They do that. They are doing that in the Netherlands quite a couple of shows.
That.
Yeah. I mean,
I think there's some artists as well. I think Jack White does that for a lot of his concerts, where he literally just insists you put them in the pouches. Which, listen, that's going to probably be not pleasing to 70 or 80% of the crowd, but you know, there's something in it. There's definitely something in that.
Well, and talking about technology, Apple was rumored to be making an infrared device in their phones, and then you would have light shooting out, infrared light at the stage shooting out, and when you put your camera up, your camera would not allowed to be activated.
Yeah,
the audience. I've heard of that being out there too. So definitely getting back to, I remember when I go to festivals and there was no cell service, and I didn't even think about it for like a week. I maybe pulled out my phone a few times to snap a couple pictures, put my phone back in my pocket. There was no cell service, and I never had that immediate response to want to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram something and have my attention down like this. I was at this beautiful festival and I got to experience it. I had conversations with friends, you know, meaningful conversations. It wasn't, oh, I got downtime, let me go play Candy Crush, you know, or something. Or let me make, I'm trying to make
that's fine, provided you don't get lost at Glastonbury like we used to all the time. You actually need a phone signal to call each other at Glastonbury to find each other, because it's so bloody big, isn't it? But,
although the flip side of that is, if you go back even further to like some of the, you know, early raves we were going to in the 90s, before phones, great thing is, sometimes you lose all your mates for about 6 hours. And you can't find each other because there's no phones, which was sometimes a lot of fun, just kind of getting lost. Especially if you don't like your friends.
That's true. Yeah.
It's a great way to get rid of them.
So speaking about being at big events and doing and playing big events, big shows, who is the most inspiring person you've ever met backstage? And tell us, our audience, why that person was so inspiring to you.
I mean, unless you've got any ideas on this, I think maybe Oakenfold, because we used to kind of, we did sign eventually. We'd known Paul for a while. We'd met him at gigs. He kind of supported some of our early records. And seeing him at gigs, he was just a very, I think we first met him when we did a Ministry of Sound tour sometime in the kind of early 90s.
94.
94, yeah. And he was always kind of like really good at, and talking about inspiring characters. He was always really good with advice, and also as a kind of almost like a cheerleader. He really supportive when he heard our records. And then we eventually, about 2 or 3 years later, end up signing one of our projects to his Perfecto label. But yeah, he just had that kind of enthusiasm that was kind of like, that lacked the cynicism that, many other people might have. It was almost like a pure joy. It wasn't just about, will this record do something for me, or I'd like to sign you because it'll be good for the label. He was genuinely kind of motivated by the music.
Because this was right at the sort of beginning of trance in the UK, so about 95-ish. So no one was doing what he was doing. It was a brand new sound.
Yeah.
So like he was such a sort of spearhead of the trance movement. He was the only guy playing that music in the UK that I knew of, or we knew of anyway.
Yeah,
actually.
Absolutely.
And so when he, as we were so inspired by that sound to get into it, he was the guy that would give you all the best advice. And he was like, and he was just really fun to hang out with, So
yeah,
this is like 96-ish, or when he started doing Cream residency in Liverpool. It was just, it was great because it was just brand new. The sound was brand new, and it was all his and that club, and it was just, it was great to go to.
Yeah, it was like literally the start of trance in those kind of mid-90s moments. So yeah, I'd say he was definitely very inspiring.
Very kind of serendipitous that you mentioned Mr. Oakenfold, because he was one of the first DJs that I ever interviewed on my show years ago. Unfortunately, it hit what we call the DJ sessions curse, and there was a little mix up with the audio. And while I could have got my voice out of it, he spoke so softly and so quietly, and we're behind the scenes at the club. You couldn't hear his audio, and I was like, But I was reading up and researching y'all, and he is coming back to town here at the end of the month, and we're working on getting the interview with him. So I'll definitely tell him I talked with y'all. And
send him our love. By the way, maybe it wasn't the audio; it might have been his voice. He's got a very funny accent.
Yeah, tell him we say hi, because we haven't seen him for a while.
I definitely will. If you could go back 25 years in music history or forward 50 years in music future, which one would you pick and why?
25 years, because if I went for the second one, I'd be about 94.
You wouldn't change your age.
See what's going on. 50 years in the future, I'd be on my way out. So,
Yeah. I don't know, if we could be like we are now, maybe forwards. It's always nice to go forwards.
Oh, are you allowed to do that? If you go for 50 years, can we stay the same age?
Stay as we are now.
If you had a TARDIS and you can just travel whichever way you want to go.
Oh, I didn't say that, you see. Okay, you're right.
I do now.
There's no physical impairment. We've been through enough already.
Yeah,
right?
It's been tough.
Yeah, it's been tough. Yeah, okay, we'll go forward.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
You got to buy the tickets. Let's go.
Definitely. It's funny because you can never, because everything moves so quickly from, the era of records, CDs, downloads, streaming. It sounds stupid to say, but I'm sure it's not. But it feels like there's nothing further than streaming. But there probably will be.
Yeah.
Which none of us, not even the kind of sharpest minds in Silicon Valley would probably even thought of yet. But so yeah, it would be to think what it could possibly be in 50 years' time, how everyone is kind of distributing music, how they're even making music. It's a fascinating thing. it might make my brain hurt if I think about it too much.
You know, musically as well, I think I saw, it's one of the Terminator movies, I think. There's a scene in it where they go into a club and it's meant to be set in, and there might be Terminator 2, he's walking through a club, right? And at the time it was, I think when it was made in the 80s, it was meant to be futuristic music. And you listen to it now, it sounds atrocious, like really dated. So, and that was your perception of what it's going to, at the time I remember listening to it and God, that music's bonkers. It's really like, no one's going to make music that futuristic. And now it just sounds like
old-fashioned
kind of crap rock music. So it would be amazing to see what kind of techniques and stuff people are using in that much, we're using synths, or we're using some other sort of form of noise making equipment. It will be fascinating to see.
So being the movie buff that I am, after memorizing hundreds of movies as a child, the movie is Terminator. It was done in '84, and the name of the club was called Tech Noir.
Right, there you go.
Oh, wow.
You know the scene I mean, right? And
that was the scene when he first comes after Sarah Connor in the club, and he goes to shoot the gun, and he had to wait. Kreese had to wait for the Terminator to make the move, so he knew who it was before he could shoot him. And that's when you first see this Terminator get up as it just got shot and it's on the floor. But the music there was, it was 80s.
Kind of like orchestra stabs and stuff.
Yeah.
Like trying to be really, it was like Art of Noise, but really badly done. So, that was it. Yeah.
Really badly done art.
But at the time, that was kind of people's vision of like futuristic music, and hasn't turned out like that at all.
And what was funny, that was one of James Cameron's first films.
Yeah.
So, where, you see him making Avatar, all these big things now, but he started out with this film here that, it was supposed to be about the future robots coming back and killing people and stuff.
Incredible franchise, though, right? Terminator 2 is incredible.
But crappy soundtrack.
Yeah, terrible.
And we were talking a little bit about technology. I'm glad we got on this subject a little bit, because technology does move pretty fast in DJ producer land. And if you could think of something that's not on the market today, but in your vision would be really amazing to be out there, what would that be?
God, I mean, I've seen you're starting to be able to stream directly onto CDJs now and stuff, right? Which is a little bit scary, to being that kind of quick. But I don't know, it's a bit like guessing what the music's going to sound like. I guess because all we do is turn up at gigs now with a couple of USB sticks and a pair of headphones. I guess if there was a way to not even need those and turn up so you don't forget them, because I check about 8 times before we leave the house.
What would that be though? Would that be like a chip in your brain?
It'll be like some sort of like smart, I don't know, thing. And it'd be great to have like implants in your ears so you don't need headphones. And then, and not being deaf after the gig would be an amazing achievement if we can get to there.
That'd be really good. Like some kind of automatic sound limiter, so that, you don't have to kind of shove things in your ears. You can just kind of...
there's probably something in there. I reckon the headset technology will get better. It'll be a kind of earbud thing, and it'll all be Bluetooth, and it'll be, which I know you can do already, but like kind of seamlessly maybe. And then maybe all your playlists will be kept on a chip in your ear, and that'll be automatically downloaded to the decks, and off you go. So we got it easy as it is, to be honest. So not complaining. Then
again, it's not like the old days when you had to carry like these big boxes of records around.
We are playing vinyl again this year in October.
That's
so
true.
That is a wake-up call, and you have to shuffle a box of records in your car and stuff. So
is that going to be only in your local area, or are you going to be playing the tour?
Fabric in London.
Fabric, nice.
They're great.
And it looks like, did you get into doing a little bit of live streaming as well over the last couple of years?
Yeah, well, we had no choice. So we we did the normal 2020 kind of we're all gonna die kind of thing for a while. It was a bit weird. We did a few streams. It was fun. Yeah.
Did that ever carry over, and have you looked at doing anything in the virtual reality market?
No, to be honest, no. I mean, it's
if this pandemic would have gone on even longer than this 18-month, 2-year period, it might have been something we would have looked at. But because, like we said earlier, because we even when it was starting to be partial lockdowns, we were able to start doing gigs again. That was kind of more interesting to us, really, than following the virtual route too much. Not to knock it, it's a great thing, but it didn't kind of excite us enough to be kind of carrying that through so much.
I think that one thing that we all learned from the pandemic, or certainly we did, was it's actually about people getting together. It's not just about the music and the DJ. They're actually, the DJ is the least important thing. The music and the people are the most important thing. So really what everyone missed was everyone getting together in one space, you know.
You're quite a hippie, aren't you, really?
Really, a little bit. Yeah. So, yeah, do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, you can watch your favorite DJ on Facebook and stuff. It's really not the same after a few months. The sort of novelty wears off, you know. And to be honest, doing the streams when you're just by yourself, it's just, there's not much going on. I've got my cat and he loves it, but he's more into deep house.
What's your cat's name?
Kimmy.
Emmy?
Kimmy.
What is that short?
Named after Kimi Räikkönen, the racing driver.
Oh, okay, okay. Kimmy. And is that your studio or your living room that you're in right now?
This is a studio. You're looking at the chill out end of it. The business end is in front of us.
Okay.
So the decks are over here, more keyboards here, and all the gears kind of like, that's the chill out end.
Because some people don't allow pets in the studio, and I didn't know if that was your living room or your.
No, we have a pet inclusion policy. So I used to. He sits with me all day long, like if I'm writing music. They really vibe up on the kind of harmonics and stuff. They really get into it. It's amazing how still they lie, but you can tell when he's into it because he actually sits there the whole day. So nice thing to do.
Or
Awesome.
Yeah, or he's tired. Yeah.
Now, how you two have been around 27 years. How has your experience been seeing the rise in the US EDM scene or electronic music scene and its differences than that in Europe? And which scene do you find more appealing?
That's a tough one because what we saw, I mean, I think we saw differences with Britain to Europe and to the States, probably because, you know, without trying to sound like, oh, we're the pioneers, because we're not. It's, you know, things were going on in Ibiza, really. That's where Oakenfold, Danny Rampling, who were the other two?
Johnny Walker and
Johnny Walker and Nicky Holloway.
Yeah.
So that was the famous thing where the four of them went in 1988 for the holiday, and they brought it all back to the UK. Then Danny Rampling and Oakenfold opened the two clubs in London, and so we kind of saw all that going on and the early raves, and there was something about it that isn't quite this. It has never seemed quite the same as when we started seeing like European club culture, European raves, and certainly the EDM explosion. It just, maybe because we were from Britain and saw it all first, if anything's slightly different, you kind of, there is almost like an inbuilt, slightly cynical kind of look saying, yeah, but it was better then when, you know, they did it on our kind of doorstep. So I know I'm kind of, you know, probably being slightly dismissive of other scenes, but just being honest, you know, it just seemed a lot, maybe because it's just more of a unique, original thing to start with back in UK. What do you think? I mean, do you kind of?
Well, I think you guys do bigger and better than everyone, to be honest. I mean, there are amazing shows to look at.
You give good showbiz.
Yeah, the showbiz, I should imagine going to the gigs is like, as a punter, must be a whole lot better than going to some of the UK shows. But in the UK, the drugs smell much better. They really were. But they were worldwide then in the 90s. It was like a whole new thing. So
I wouldn't know about that kind of thing.
You know, and we all know where this came from, right? It all came out of ecstasy. So the ecstasy in the mid to late 90s was incredible. So early 90s. But then that changed everywhere. It changed in the UK, changed worldwide after that. It became too manufactured or whatever. But the early scene was, I think, because we were in the middle of it as punters. We were making music, we were right in the middle of it, in the crowd. We were
fans of the music.
Yeah,
before we started making the music.
When we went to Cream, we weren't sort of backstage with Oakie. We'd be on the dance floor, right? When our records were still being played, so right in the middle of it. So when you kind of come out of that, because you've got to get a life and grow up a little bit, you've got to, you know, you kind of change, your attitude changes a little bit towards it. But it's amazing what's happened in the States, the size of the shows and how much it's pushed it on. It's incredible. And now it's kind of rubbed off and gone back to Europe and the UK now, sort of thing. But I still love being in a dark, sweaty club. You know, like if it's really right and the atmosphere is rocking, that's still my favorite kind of.
I'm the opposite, funny enough. I like being in a kind of field with the kind of the sun coming up at 4 or 5 in the morning. That was always my preferred vibe, and the kind of, you know, like he said.
That's very interesting. Do you feel there is a kind of yin and yang between the both of you that complements your partnership?
Still, my favorite place in the world will be on Koh Phangan on Sunrise Beach, a full moon party, watching the sun come up. That is still the best place in the universe, as far as I'm concerned. It's amazing.
That's pretty amazing.
But when I'm talking about comparing like Tomorrowland to Cream, like the club, I prefer to be in Cream than Tomorrowland, you know. But anywhere, I prefer to be maybe at Space in Ibiza at 10:30 in the morning with the jets going overhead, landing at Ibiza Airport, or on Koh Phangan Beach, you know.
Totally.
Yeah.
But funny enough, I mean, I know I've probably made this point already before, but the other thing, talking about when it was in the UK in like 88, 89, 90, when it exploded, I suppose the big difference is not just that it was the first time, because, you know, what we saw with EDM and with the European club culture followed. But the real difference was, at the time, it was like a youth explosion, wasn't it? It was, I think it's probably the last British kind of cultural revolution.
Proper zeitgeist. It was like nothing. That's the difference. Is nothing that was happening had happened before. So everything you were seeing for the first time. So
exactly. If you went to a rave, like, you know, and there was also the kind of cultural element of it, where you didn't know where you were going, and you literally kind of got this kind of, you had to go to a phone box, phone a mobile number, and then, you know, at 11 o'clock at night, someone would let you know, and then you'd be in a convoy finding, you know, this illegal rave off the M25 or whatever. So there was that aspect. But when you kind of got there, and, you know, all these people absolutely twatted, frankly, in a field, it's something that we'd never seen before. So, you know, I suppose what I'm saying is it's really hard to compare subsequent cultures in Europe and America, because we'd seen it all before. That was probably the thing.
And for the first time, so you're kind of, although we were in our 20s, you felt like a child because you had never seen this. It was all fresh. No one had ever done this. So no one quite knew what to do or what was going on. So it felt so special. So when you see it replicated years in, you know, 10 years after that, you kind of know, you kind of look at the crowd and you think, I wish I was where you are, because you've never done this before. You can't ever redo that again because you've seen it all, you know. But that first few years of experiencing all that, and then not only just the club culture changing and things like Space and Ibiza really taking off on the terrace and stuff like that, but then seeing the music changing every year, because you had, like, you know, house, speed garage, trance, progressive house. Every year there'll be a new sound coming along, which doesn't really happen at the moment still, because there's so much of it going on anyway. So there's so many multi-genres, but at the time there was always a new sound coming on. There's jungle, drum and bass, hardcore. It was so much going on. All of it was fresh, so you didn't know what the fuck to do. It was incredible. You know?
I suppose it was probably like, if you look at the history of kind of modern music, it's probably like that period for rock or rock and roll in the 1960s. When, you know, their versions of that would be Elvis, the Stones, the Beatles. But if you look at the dance music side, he's right. The different genres that, you know, in this kind of 5 to 10 year period where they were just cropping up, these brand new genres, it was kind of like, it's like mindfuck in a way, wasn't it? It was kind of like, wow, what is this? It was all so new. So it's hard. I suppose that's the only thing about, you know, I don't know, the last 5 or 10 years. It doesn't feel like too many new things have happened in a big way, you know. As soon as I'm saying that now, you could probably say to me, what about this? And I'll be like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. But certainly not as explosive as it was.
You know, seeing the DJ become the rock star now, and you don't have that component of a band, you know, 4-piece or backup vocal singers, all that. I mean, you can have additions to the DJ performance, especially if it's like a live performance, if you're doing something like, but now the DJ is the rock star. And curious question is, what do you feel distinguishes a DJ from a producer in the sense?
That's a good question. I'm gonna let you take that one.
Well, in the purest sense, it's two different jobs, isn't it? But it's not now. So again, when we started, most of the DJs were not producers, right? So I remember even into the late 90s when the Space Brothers had first got signed, there was a time. In fact, I was talking to another artist about this a while ago. There was a time when the DJs at the time that were quite famous. I'm not talking about the top guys like Oakenfold, because he was always encouraging us to do everything, but the guys that was just a little bit floating below that, so very well known, they actually didn't want the guys making the records coming through and DJing because it was their territory. So the two territories are very different. The DJs didn't make a lot of records, and well, not a lot of them did, and then the producers didn't DJ much. So it used to be
more separate. Wasn't it
used to be very separate. You know, there'd be exceptions like Oakenfold was a proper old school producer, you know, going back to the Happy Mondays and stuff like that. So he's always had like a different spin on things, because that's I think why he's so good at producing and creating the zeitgeist, because he's got such good ears and can go with the whole flow of things. But there's so many these days that I don't think there's much of a difference, to be honest. I think you've got to be doing both to be into the scene, to be honest. I think all producers now are expected, well, they would want to play the records out, they would want to DJ, and also all DJs really are expected to be producers as well.
Yeah, it's kind of a current trend that I see a lot of people they say that I can't break through unless I get a track release, or people don't pay attention to me unless I have something on Beatport or Spotify or SoundCloud. And it's not just the mix anymore. You know, it's not just track selection, track curation. It's I have to have something here. And
the other thing was I think it was the 70s, where bands used to say they used to tour to sell records, but now you make records so you can go on tour. You know, it's the other way around, isn't it? You have to produce records so you can go and do the big tours. And so the financial thing is swapped round, isn't it? You need to be touring to make money. Whereas when we started, there was no pressure to go and play live, so we used to just spend the whole time in the studio. And if we had some spare time on the weekends, we'd probably be at the club rather than wanting to DJ at it. You know what I mean? So.
And speaking of selling albums and getting tours and making money in all of this, have you two explored doing anything with NFTs? It's kind of the big buzzword right now.
We were talking about that about 3 days ago.
We were
on the way to this gig the other night. We were having that exact conversation.
You know, the whole NFT thing is like crazy, isn't it? I mean, what is it? I mean, really, it's crazy, but I'm not sure about the whole thing. But then again, I do feel the same way sometimes about cryptocurrency as well. So, which is a bit bonkers. So, no, we haven't. We did talk about what can we do, but I don't know. What are we going to do? Sell a picture of our face? You know, I don't know.
They look at it from the.
You've got a good idea for us. Yeah, you can be our NFT agent.
Yeah.
No, well, they're talking about the ability to actually take tracks and NFT those tracks, and then there'd be a limited amount of those tracks. We're looking at doing it with our interviews, so we could kind of gift and say, hey, Space Brothers, here's an NFT of your interview you did with the DJ sessions, and maybe put that out there, that if there was fans of the Space Brothers, they could own a limited 50 NFT copies only made of this interview, and we're a fan and we own that. But where you could see the technology going is, I recently saw on Twitter less than a month ago, it allowed you to upload a profile picture to your account. And if it was an NFT, it would give you a special little watermark saying, this is an NFT, you own this image. So you could see, like, maybe this goes into where there's a lot of copyright in our world, you know, especially when it comes to live streaming or video on demand, that if you could say, I have the NFT version of this song now, you might not have to, it might give you rights that might give you master use or sync rights or streaming rights or playing in public rights. Wow, there's a lot of rights. You know, so that somebody can say, I own that, and you could see maybe a CDJ or a player or a computer program like Rekordbox would identify that, because it is blockchain technology that is saying you really do own a real version of this and not a bootleg, a copy, you know, out there, and how that could change the industry. And then if I decided to pass that on, you know, you still get a kickback for. If it's your NFT, you keep getting a slice of the pie every time it transfers, forever and ever and ever and ever. And you can assign, right? So I was talking with somebody the other day. I did an interview with the wonderful gal last week. She's all about it. And she's like, here's how you got to do it. You take 10% for yourself and 5% for here. And then 20% goes back into this over here to help out the community. And I'm like, oh, fuck.
That's kind of how I feel about the whole thing.
Yeah. But, I have my friend of mine who's looking into actually doing the NFTs of videos, because apparently there's a limit to the file size right now. So people have said do blocks or each question of the interview and make that an NFT. In our virtual reality nightclubs we're launching, we will actually have a full NFT art gallery. Like when you're walking around, you'll see NFTs on all the walls. Then if you want to buy the NFTs, and it could be anything from artwork to past video episodes to songs, and we'll just curate that because we want to make sure people are always coming back and seeing new stuff, having a good experience.
Say this video, this interview was sold as an NFT, right? Someone's going to kick that file somewhere, and they can show it to someone, but it can't be broadcast anywhere, right? Unless
no, it'd be from what I would understand, it's just going to be a QuickTime file, and they can play it, they can put it out there, but they can't say I have the original one.
Yeah, sure.
That's the claim to fame. Like I have, there was a artist, he made like 7 paintings, and he went in and took pictures of all the paintings, and then he blew them all up with fireworks. And he had estimated the value of the paintings at $90,000 when he blew them up. But now the only thing that remains is that NFT version of that artwork that he made. So did the video get him a bunch of TikTok downloads? Probably. Did people go, I want to buy one of those, and then they get shuffled through the market? And I heard you really got to get into the communities and kind of like network and talk, and there's politics just like to anything. And but is it going to be just as easy as I take a picture of my phone and now I have an app and that automatically NFTs the image for me, and I can go up, that's my image, I can put that up and I own that. And let's say somebody wanted to upload an image to Instagram or Facebook, and they go, you don't have the rights to this image because you don't have the NFT of this. You'd have to show you have the rights to make that happen. It's a very interesting universe.
I think Andy Warhol would have been all over this. He would have been the master at it if he had been around. I did see an artist on Facebook the other day saying he was going to NFT his image, his profile picture on Facebook. Oh, so I mean, I don't know what. I guess you can do it. Well, of course you can. Huh?
I mean, it comes down to does somebody find value in it?
That's the thing.
And is it like somebody could say, I want that NFT at the Space Brothers interview, I'll pay $1 for it. Or somebody goes out there and says, oh, it's changed hands 5 times and now it's going for $20, and everyone's still getting a kick down every time that gets passed around.
In that respect, it does remind me of the initial kind of cryptos, because it's like people are taking a punt on stuff, right? So I know there's no fundamental value in art anyway. It's just the canvas and the paint that's gone on it, really. But there kind of is, isn't there? If you look at a Masters, if you look at a Picasso or something, if you look at an NFT, a photograph of a Picasso, it's just a digital file, isn't it? So it's perceived value, isn't it? So it depends how much you perceive the value in us, doesn't it? I guess.
Basically, we're happy for you to sell this interview as an NFT, and we'll take our usual
Kevin,
percentage.
you can have this one, all right?
Yeah.
Just give us a few years. If you're getting up to a few billion, let us know.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, we're looking forward to moving forward with it, because we have over 2,300 episodes that we've done over the last 13 years, and we're getting ready to kick up our output of interviews. Pretty much interviews alone, we're growing by about 800%. So we're going from, our outreach is going to grow to about 800% more, which will put us at about 1,000 interviews every year. And, these are just QuickTime files that sit out there on a server, and everyone we're talking to has a fan base. And one of the cool things that I want to do, that if you guys were here physically, I might buy you a bottle of wine or a fruit basket, or, thank you for coming on the show with a nice gift card. I want to be able to say, hey, why not give you an NFT version of your interview, and it could have this set to it that's for you. And then these ones are over here. We're not trying to make $1 billion or $1 million or even $10 over here. We're just trying to put the cool cherry on the top of the cake, on the top of the sundae.
That'd be amazing to see how you get on. That'd be fascinating.
Yeah, that's an interesting route.
Really will.
We'll definitely be staying in touch with you on that. After weeks, going back to kind of not NFT stuff, but tour stuff in a sense, you're going to be going out there playing more shows and stuff. After weeks of months of heavy touring, what do you like to do in your home area, like to chill and kick back and enjoy life?
Sleep at the moment, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, like
for me, my kind of thing to switch off from not just music, everything is football. So we both support Arsenal. It's a Premier League team for anyone who's not sure about Arsenal. But also, I've found lately, I'm not just watching Arsenal matches, I watch really kind of crap teams in other matches. Yeah. And I find myself sometimes I prefer watching a really sterile game with two crap teams than sometimes watching some good kind of thing on Netflix or I find myself it's almost like you don't have to try too hard. It's a good way to kind of switch off, just watch football. So that's my thing. I don't play football, but I do enjoy watching football.
If I do anything else apart from sleeping afterwards, it's mountain biking. We got some great fields just up the road here. So we're right on the edge. If you look at the map of London, we're right at the top of London. So the metro is the last stop on the metro is Barnet. And then if you go just up the top of the road here, we just got the green belt. So it's green fields. So I do a lot of my mountain biking.
You are a bit obsessed with Grand Prix as well.
Yeah. Oh, Formula One. Yeah. That's another thing. That's just watching. It's not exercise.
Yeah. What I need to tune out, I literally will put on Doctor Who. Once a year, that's when I just want to sit back and do nothing for like 3 or 4 weeks.
Who was your first? Who was the actor? Who was the first?
Chris.
Chris.
Eccleston. Yeah. Liked him, but David is my favorite. Definitely David's my favorite. Matt took a little bit of working. Peter was a little bit of working, but started to like him a lot more too. I felt he got a little bit more cold and raw. Then Matt was a little bit more jovial and funny. I never went back to the older guys.
Did you not like the first female Doctor?
Jury's still out. No comment. They're bringing Moffat back in to see if he can help Chris, is from what I understand. But please, Whovians, please don't kill me or murder me or slander my show. I'm just a big fan of David.
Right. No, I haven't watched Doctor Who since I was a kid. That was before Eccleston as well. Tom Baker, you wouldn't have remembered him, would you?
If I see him, I might know who they are. I might know where they were at. But yeah, when I come in,
was my guy when I was a kid.
Yeah, he was brilliant.
Yeah. He's the original.
He was really proper eccentric actor as well.
I remember John Pertwee when I was a kid. I mean, I was literally about that big.
That
was the 70s or something. Yeah. So
that was when the opening titles were always terrifying, weren't they?
Yeah.
You'd hide behind the couch.
It was very scary, Doctor. Yeah.
Used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just that's what I go. That's my go-to when I just want to tune out. But bike riding and
football, really.
Crappy football teams. That's right. You guys call it football. Where's soccer? But
just out of interest, is Doctor Who really big in the States?
It kind of was. It got I mean, it was.
What network do you watch on?
Well, I kind of circle around things on the internet.
Oh, right. Tell me the BBC then.
Yeah. BBC. Yeah. No, they used to do marathons on the public stations here back in the day. That
broadcast on public broadcasting.
Do you have is it BBC America that's?
I think it's BBC America is what we have here. Yeah, that's typically where you'll see it at. Yeah, that's. But then it's like I said, I watched various things, various different places on the interwebs that you're probably not supposed to do. But I don't condone it. It's not for everyone. Just get ad pop-up blocker, you'll be okay. So Is there anything else you would like to let?
Can I just tell you a very funny? I don't talk about this a lot, but I've got quite a funny Doctor Who reference, right?
Oh, go ahead.
So when I was really young, before I was into music, I used to be an actor for about 4 or 5 years when I was about 16, before I got into music. And I did quite a few different things, but you used to have these you'd put a standard letter together that you'd send to every TV producer, like all the different commercial channels, BBC channels, which would be like, hi, my name is Ricky Simmonds. Here's a photo. Here's what I've done. Hopefully you'll consider me for something. So sent all these letters. I end up getting, sometimes you get kind of like feedback where they say, yeah, we'll keep you in mind. But I end up opening a letter one day and it had the TARDIS at the top, BBC from the Doctor Who office. And so what must have happened is they must have got my standard letter, but somehow misconstrued it. So it started off saying, dear Ricky Simmonds, thank you very much for writing in, but the part of Doctor Who has now been cast. So someone had got my letter thinking I was putting myself forward for the Doctor. It's great. I've still got it somewhere.
Still got it, yeah, I was going to say.
I should tweet that, actually. It's a really funny letter to me.
You should NFT that and put that online.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, as a Doctor Who fan, you can get involved in that one. I'll take my standard cut.
Awesome. Rick and Steve, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Is there anything else, though, you would like to let our fans know about the Space Brothers, what you got coming up, what you're working on?
Not really. Is there anything else? I think we've
just look out for some new tunes this year. Working hard on our Lustral projects as well, which is a alternative kind of stuff, more downbeat, sort of breaksy kind of stuff. And yeah, more Space Brothers stuff as well this year.
I did see one little final note. There was an album, I want to say it was on Spotify or Beatport. It was top 100 tracks. And you guys you were listed on that. Was that curated by Armin?
Was it under this? Yeah.
The one, it's like $129, but it had like 100 top 100 tracks.
Probably,
and,
yeah.
And
it was at the ASOT top 100.
ASOT top 100.
Yeah, we've got a couple.
State of Trance.
Yeah.
That was it. Congratulations on that. That's quite an honor to be recognized.
Good company there. Yeah, that's
awesome.
Good. No, thanks for having us on. It's good to chat, and looking forward to our NFT agent over there doing work for us.
I'll let you know. Where can people find out more information about you guys?
Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
The Space Brothers official. That's what all of the handles are. Instagram, Facebook.
You get all the info there.
Awesome. Well, there you have it, everyone. Look them up. The Space Brothers official online. They're out there. They got some awesome tracks coming our way here. We'll touch base with you guys over the next few months as well. We like to stay in contact with everyone that comes on the show, and we're looking forward to seeing what's coming down the line.
Look out for me and Doctor Who.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
And don't forget to go to our website, thedjsessions.com. Find us on Twitter, hashtag us Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're out there. The DJ Sessions. This is Darren coming to you from Seattle, Washington, and Rick and Steve all the way from Barnet, which is just a little north of London, for the DJ Sessions presents the virtual sessions. And you remember what happens on the DJ Sessions? The music never stops.